What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to No Life's Metal. It's time for yet another rock metal update. And despite my growled beginning, this is actually going to be a non-metal update. This is all rock stuff, but it's not, you know, none of this stuff would fit neatly into metal, even by 70 standards. This is all just rock stuff. So I wanted to, it's not a huge pile here, but I've been kind of putting this stuff to the side so I could do this video. I'm going to start off with one of my all-time favorite artists. So this is Jimi Hendrix. This is part of the Spain series called Gigantes del Pop, and I like this series a lot. I've got several from this series. I mean, I think I've got Aerosmith, 10 Years Young Amboy Dukes, Genesis. There's a bunch of them, and I just, whenever I see these for a good price, or if I see them in really good condition, because a lot of times they're tore up, I snatch them up. This Jimi Hendrix one, which is Volume 1, I don't know if it was the first one in the series. It might have been. It's a compilation of Jimi Hendrix material. So you've got Hey Joe, which is the actual studio version from the first Hendrix Experience album. We Gotta Get Together, All Along the Watchtower, Still Raining, Still Dreaming, Voodoo Child, Red House, Remember, Long Hot Summer Night, Who Knows, I Don't Live Today, love that song, and Castles Made of Sand, and Bold as Love. So it comes from a multitude of albums. It's not even all Experience. Some of it's you know, later Hendrix material before he passed away. But regardless, it's part of that series. Great photo of Jimmy on the front, and I collect anything by Jimi Hendrix, and excited to finally have that one in the collection. And this thing is in stellar shape. When I bought it from the seller, it was, I think it was $10, and he said still has a shrink wrap on it. It was only ever played once, and so I got it, and yeah, it looks unplayed. I ripped the shrink wrap off because it was ugly anyhow, and I put on a, you know, fresh, clean sleeve instead. Hi, next up, this is, I may have showed this in another video. I can't remember, but I'm going to show it again here anyhow. This is Sweeney Todd. This is a glam rock, 70s glam rock band with Nick Gilder as vocalist here. But if you would have played this for me before I knew who this was and said, hey, that's a male singing, I would have, you're lying. That's a female singer. This does not sound like the Nick Gilder that you're used to hearing. He sings so freaking high. I'm talking like this would rival things like The Sweet or Slade, T-Rex, that kind of 70s glam rock that was, you know, David Bowie, Mott the Hoople, that kind of stuff. But this band here happens to be Canadian. I really enjoyed this album though, despite the almost feminine style of singing. I thought this was a really good album. Quite enjoyed it, so I'm glad I finally have it in the collection. I actually started looking for some 7-inch singles of this band and found a few, so really cool. It's also interesting that after Nick Gilder, who's pictured right there, looking very rock and roll, after he left the band, I believe Bryan Adams came in next to sing for the band. And of course, Bryan Adams went on to be a, you know, huge megastar, not only on his own right, but he also did a lot of writing for other bands. This next one is Grail. I have been looking for this ever since it came out. It's a Record Store Day release that came out really early when Record Store Day first started. I missed out on it. There was 3 volumes released. I got 2. I got 3 on those Record Store Days, but I missed Volume 1. And dang, I'm not paying $200 for a compilation record, even if it is Cheap Trick, who you all know that I love. But the Epic Archive Volume 1, 75 to 79, and it basically archives like B-sides and just rare tracks, demos, and there's a few live things on here, but mostly it's just alternative versions. Yeah, there's Stiff Competition Live 79, but mostly it's demos and B-sides and just rare tracks. So I'm glad to finally have this one. I'm going to say this. It wasn't cheap, but it was way under $200, and I mean way under $200. I wouldn't even pay $100. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even pay $70 for this. I paid well under that, so I got it for a great price, almost probably the same price that was sold for. So I think this thing was like $39.99, and that's around what I got it for. It was a little more than that with shipping, but dang, I was like, I was almost shocked to find this thing on I look for it all the time on eBay, and there's still copies on there, but they're always $200 or more. There's copies on Discogs, $200 or more. I just ain't paying that. So when I found this copy for that price, yeah, I was like psyched. So yeah, glad to finally have it. So now I have all three. Now if I could just find the Blue Oyster Cult Volume 1, I missed that one too. I got Volume 2, missed Volume 1. The other one I really want from Record Store Day that I can't find is UFO from Live in Youngstown. Missed that one as well. And again, $200 album, just not paying that. So, all right, this is. I found this. I was out in Arizona, I believe, in Phoenix. I was only out there for like a day or two. I was out there visiting some family. I've got a lot of friends out there, and I was unable. I didn't even tell them I was coming because I just didn't have time to go visit anybody because I was going out to visit with family for a specific purpose. I did have a chance on one of the afternoons to go to a record store, and I picked this thing up very cheap. One of the few Robin Trower albums that I was missing from my collection. Robin Trower is a fantastic guitar player, well known for his 70s material. A lot of them called him a Jimi Hendrix prodigy. I really, really like albums like Bridge of Sighs, and I have all his albums, and I used to have this one on CD, but I didn't have it on vinyl. And this copy was still sealed for $5, so no-brainer. Grabbed it, picked it up. I've only heard it once. I haven't heard the CD in years, but quite enjoyed it. Really good album from him. Definitely has a different production because this is more of an 80s sound. It doesn't quite have the same jam feel that he had in the 70s. It was a little pared down by that time, but still a good album from Robin Trower, especially for that price. And let's see, I got a few more here. This one I also picked up in Arizona, and surprisingly it wasn't expensive. Now someone may argue this is a metal band or a pop metal band or whatever, I don't care. I thought it fit into this video better, but anyway, this is Slaughter. Yes, that Slaughter, the American Slaughter, with Mark Slaughter on vocals and Dana Strum on bass, that Slaughter. And this is The Wildlife, their second album, and I was surprised to find an original pressing of this just sitting in a record store, especially for the price I got it for, which, if I can see it right, yeah, it was I don't know if people care how much I pay for crap or not, but it was $20. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna grab that. Took it home. It was in great condition. It plays perfect. It almost looks unplayed. So glad to finally have that one in my collection. Yeah, it's kind of a rarity though. You never see this thing. I may have been repressed in recent years, but I haven't seen a copy, and I don't own a copy. So glad to finally grab this one. Yeah. Love the cover art too. It actually looks a lot better here than it does on the CD. You can see a lot more detail in it. So very cool. Slaughter, The Wild Side. All right, got a couple more here. This is one of my favorite guitar players of all time. Then I'm going to finish with one of my favorite vocalists of all time. But this has been on my want list forever. This is Phil Keaggy, Sunday's Child. Very I don't know how to explain it. Beatlesque in sound. It's just straightforward rock music. You know, if people think of rock music now, they think, oh, it must have sounded like bands like Aerosmith or, you know, those classic rock bands. And that's not what it sounds like. It sounds like Phil Keaggy. It's got a heavy Beatles influence because he was, you know, a big fan of that style. I don't know. It just sounds like Phil Keaggy. So if you don't know Phil Keaggy, he's one of the most fantastic guitar players in the world. There's a debunked story going out there, at least as far as I know, that Jimi Hendrix once was asked by a reporter, how does it feel to be the greatest guitar player ever? And he said, I don't know, ask Phil Keaggy. Phil Keaggy was in Glass Harp at the time, in late 60s, early 70s, and he was definitely, you know, an up and rising guitar player at the time. So, you know, it's not unbelievable that he could say something like that, but I doubt. I've never found any verification of that. But he is a great guitar player. His instrumental albums are some of my all-time favorites. I play them a lot. Really relaxing music as far as his instrumental albums go. My favorite album from him is actually nearly all instrumental, and it's called The Master and the Musician. But Sunday's Child, just a great, straightforward rock and roll album. Big hooks, pop, kind of, you know, leaning more towards the pop sound, and he's got really clean, happy style vocals. I don't know how to explain it. Beatlesque in sound, you know, there's a lot of those Beatlesque harmonies going on here too. So anyhow, glad to, a mint condition copy for a good price. And this thing is another one of those ones just doesn't pop up very often. They're just very rare. And then also, this was just a lucky find right around the same time, not from the same seller, but this is the Sunday's Child 12-inch EP, still sealed. Now, there's nothing unusual on here. There's no, like, as far as I know, there's no, like, non-album tracks on here. I haven't opened it to actually look and check. But I'm considering, I don't do this very often. I usually listen to anything I buy. But I'm considering leaving this one sealed just because, I mean, I have the full-length album. Do I need the EP if it's the same music? No. So, therefore, I may leave it sealed. But I just thought it was a really cool find. I've never owned it before. I've never actually even seen it before. So, very cool. Phil Keaggy and Sunday's Child. And finally, Striper. Kidding. This is Ian Gillan Band. Looks like it might be a Striper album, right? This is a Japanese pressing of the Ian Gillan Band, which is very different from his work with Deep Purple, with Black Sabbath, or with Gillan the Band. The Gillan the Band was kind of a early 80s new wave of British heavy metal, for lack of a better term, band. I mean, they were all veteran musicians in that band, but they were playing that more classic heavy metal style from the early 80s. This here is more of a jazz fusion kind of thing. And this Japanese pressing, I found it for $15. So, yeah, I had to get it. I'm a huge fan of Ian Gillan. So there's the man himself, the insert. I love Japanese pressings. I've had this thing on CD for decades, and I have a lot of other Ian Gillan stuff on vinyl. I've just never owned this particular album on vinyl, so it was really cool to find. There's actually only 6 songs on here, but trust me, it fills an album up. These are jams, but definitely not hard rock or Deep Purple-esque. This is jazz fusion, very different from what you would expect from you know, Ian Gillan or Richie Blackmore or any of the guys he played with in Gillan. So very cool though, nice to have it. Glad it's part of my collection. And that is it for this video. I appreciate you all watching. I have a lot more to show in the next upcoming videos. I've also been asked for a couple of different things. You guys can request whatever you want. If you want to see something in my collection, I don't mind showing it. Let me know. But I've had 3 or 4 requests from Aerosmith fans to show my complete Aerosmith 7-inch collection. That's going to be a task. That's going to have to be one of those videos where I'm just like going, because that's a lot. I have a lot to show. I mean, I've literally got a box like this that's just Aerosmith 7-inch. But I'm probably going to do it because I've been asked by a few people. And then I've also got another couple requests for people asking some of my favorite thrash metal albums from obscure bands. So I'm going to do that in the near future as well. Anyhow, that's it. Appreciate y'all watching. Have an awesome day. God bless and stay strong.